And thank you very much for joining us here on PM Express. It's a conversation that has taken this country by storm, something that has been happening for a while. Somehow, one screenshot led to an explosion and a national conversation about this. Bigotry and stereotypes in Ghanaian textbooks. But as we begin to learn, this is just the tip of the iceberg, because there is far more worse in some of the textbooks that you're buying, if not in the classrooms, but simply to read for your child's enhancement in class on the market, that unsuspecting parents are falling victim to, with devastating impact on the child's education going forward. We're going to get into the bottom of this problem for you tonight. So what really is the controversy about? We know now that the publication and sale of some textbooks containing what has been described as inappropriate references to personalities and ethnic groups has emerged in the last few days, sparking a national conversation that has brought in Parliament, the Education Ministry, GES, everybody else, all the stakeholders have had to talk about this. And now we heard from NACA. And NACA, by the way, is the council that is responsible for curriculum development in Ghana, right? And they highlighted 3 books deemed to have distasteful content, were in contradiction with NACA's book submission guidelines and approval methodology. The problem is these books, the 3 books, were already on the market in spite of this revelation that they were distasteful and they were really not in accordance with the guidelines that NACA itself has established. So how did they get onto the market? And who is monitoring to ensure that these books don't get sold on the market? It's a big question we're trying to get at the bottom of tonight. Now, so what are the books in question? Now, there's one book, and this is NACA's own assertions here. History of Ghana for Basic 6 by Golding Publications. And that is why tonight, one of the groups we'll be speaking to is the Ghana Publishers Association, right? Golding Publications, the book for Basic 6. So if your child is in Basic 6 and you're going to the market to buy a book, bear in mind. Now, what is the problem with this particular book? This carries what is said to be a distasteful description and information about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and the CPP. In fact, in Parliament, it's come up. Some of the members of Parliament say there's a description there of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah as a dictator, which is one of the most controversial things to put in the book for Ghana, because that subject, depending on where you stand, is divisive. And so you wonder why this will be put in the book for children to read, and it's come up for some criticism. There's more though. There's a second book, which is the History of Ghana Textbooks 3 by Bedu in Cancer Publications, which is the one that got a lot of focus. And it has a song in there about our friends from Volta region, our Ewe friends in Ghana. A song that shows the Ewe identity. And if you can see what I'm talking about here, it just tells you a story about, and this is the screenshot of what I'm talking about. And the line here, I have an attitude to show love, especially to people. There's nothing wrong with that. If you can speak my language and you step on my toe, I am not bothered. Implied in that is that if you can't speak my language and you step on my toe, I will be bothered. Our friends who speak the language say this, they find this pretty offensive. Also, people say I am inward looking, but that is what they think. Really, to describe a people as inward looking, it's stereotypical, but that is in a textbook. Also, I'm very good, especially to my people. It is all about things that stereotypes people of other extraction, which is in a textbook, right? And then there's another one, Golding English Basic 4 by Golding Publications. And here you see this, and this is, by the way, English. It says, effort agreed and prepared juju for players, which is what we've put here for you. Juju for players? What you're implying is playing into the stereotype that our friends of other extraction are people who celebrate and dabble in juju. That is stereotypical. And again, it's a big conversation that we need to have as a people, because it's the only thing that unites us as a people is, in spite of our tribal differences, we still live in unity. And things like this have incensed people. No wonder NACA says that the textbooks in contention have not been approved, and they are asking for it to be withdrawn. right? We are hearing that people say it's not just enough to say withdraw it. NACA is also warning that all publishing houses who have published this unapproved offensive books to withdraw the stock from the market immediately or face the full rigors of the law. What exactly is this? And so this, clearly from what NACA is saying, goes beyond the three publishers that they had cited. It's possibly more. We'll hear from the teachers shortly. Education Ministry has waded into this. Their point is that it's not something that, the books, the textbooks in circulation, they say they dismiss the controversial textbooks in circulation. It's not something that the government has approved of it. It's not approved. Now, the Minister, Yaduchum, said the books have not been approved for use in any of your schools. The GES response is, for me, most instructive. That many of such books are in classrooms of mainly private schools. And this is the GES Director General speaking to me on Top Story yesterday, making this point, and that scared me. Which means a lot of private schools, this is the Director General saying, private schools across the country have some of these books in their classrooms and you're using it to teach your kids. Pause for a minute and think about that, right? And they said this is more widespread a problem than we are making it seem. Again, and he says this, and I'll ask my guests when they sit down shortly, he wants tougher sanctions, including blacklisting of culpable publishers. The thing about GES, though, is that although the education sector is their responsibility, NACA, which developed the curriculum, holds all the power in this area in terms of publishing, sanctions, etc. And that's what he's calling for. Whether they agree or not, we'll look at that. Now, this is a bit of background in terms of the bigger picture. Government in 2021 budget statement said that NACA assessed and approved a total of 956 textbooks that were submitted. Now, thankfully, these books that have been approved, you can find on the website of NACA. So if you're a parent and you're looking for an approved textbook to buy, go to the NACA website and look for these 956 textbooks. Their names are there. They have been approved, and that's the only ones you should buy. And that's one of the reasons why we're having a parent as part of the conversation tonight. Also, NACA will now train 11,000 plus teachers on the KGP6 standard basic curriculum, and then 95,000 teachers on a common program, because it's key to train them so they know what it's about. Now, again, since the rollout of the standard-based curriculum, we are told, for kindergarten and primary schools, in a total of about 1,100 textbooks and 370 supplementary materials have been assessed and subsequently approved by NACA. So there's a lot of work in approving textbooks, but it's also very clear that many of them are passing through the cracks and ending up on shelves, on the market, and in our classrooms. But what is the problem? And that is why tonight I'm joined by the Ghana Publishers Association, who are joining us right now with some insights into what is happening. Also joining me tonight is Angel Kabonu, who represents NAGRAT. Also joining me is NATS reps, and a parent who is concerned about all this is also joining me. I want to bring in first the Publishers Association, who obviously have been taxed with Mr. Sari, who is joining us. Mr. Sari, thank you for joining me on PM Express.
Good evening.
Great to have you. I want to start with you. From the analysis I did, the NACA asked that all the books that have been deemed offensive be withdrawn from the market. Are you aware if that activity has started and whether maybe we haven't completing it in terms of withdrawing these books?
Thank you very much. I would like to start my statement, especially with maybe the topic or the title of your story perhaps is too high. I wish that you could have done something different. The bigotry, stereotypes.
Let's talk about that.
Let's discuss it anyway. But I am of the view that even the question mark at the end could have given us the opportunity to widen this thing. But let's say that NACA has come out to say that the books have been unapproved. And I believe that as representing the Ghana Publishers Association, we, as much as we can, have complied with the government directive or NACA's directive to submit all textbooks for assessment and approval. And if you would go around the schools or the classrooms, those that have been approved by NACA, you will realize that if there are any errors, they might be very minimal. We acknowledge that one of the publishers is a member of us. And in all organization associations, you will have some errant members who would try to take advantage of every situation. But to a large extent, the publishers have complied with NACA's directive or the law that submit your work for assessment and finally for approval before you take them to the classrooms. This issue about unapproved textbooks have been a matter of grave concern to publishers, in which so many correspondents we've written to NACA, we have expressed our misgivings and directed that they raise the hammer and hit hard on those who are selling unapproved books, which were evidently clear at the opening of the school season. So now that this issue has cropped up and NACA is trying to, as it were, try to stamp its authority on the market and of course in schools. The private schools have a directorate at the Ghana Education Service, and therefore they fall under the direct mandate of the GES. And I believe that whatever sanctions there is, it is possible for them to be able to sanction those schools that have collaborated with these publishers to distribute the books to the teachers and the students or pupils. So that will be my opening statement. We condemn whatever has been written in those books. We held a crunch meeting today, and a statement is coming out to the effect that the publishers do not support what has been done. And we believe that these are one of the signs or things that sometimes comes out and they are unfortunate. But we believe that overall, the Ghana Publishers Association, publishers in this country, have managed the publication and distribution of textbooks quite creditably.
Which of these three publishers that the NACA mentioned is your member? Is a member of the association?
Bedun Cancer is a member of the association.
It's a member. Now, Bedun Cancer has come in for a lot of criticism. In fact, it's their book that sparked the controversy.
Yes.
Now, is your association going to impose any sanction on Bedun Cancer?
Yeah, this afternoon when we met, it was clear, and they were present. The publisher and the managing director, they were present, and we didn't mince words with them, having considered and looked at the content of what is the subject matter of controversy that currently. We said to them clearly that this is an aberration which we believe that is unwarranted, and we are going to apologize overall for all publishers, and of course, particularly to support the apology from the Public Publishing House. We have a disciplinary procedure in our association, and we made it clear to them that we are going to take them through the disciplinary measures, and if they are found by the committee to be guilty of any of these things, appropriate sanctions, of course, will be meted out to them.
I mean, Mr. Sari, so how is it possible that a member of a reputable organization like yours, Ghana Publishers Association, does such a terrible, poor job in a textbook and then ends up on the market? And we know parents who have already bought the book and their kids are reading. How is that even possible?
Yeah, it all boils down to discipline, because if you have a well laid down structure, for instance, the procedure is that if you want to print textbooks, publish textbooks to the school for the schools, you must submit them to NACA for approval. This is a simple guideline regulation that I believe that every responsible publisher should follow. So if someone goes ahead to do something untoward, this is indiscipline, and there's no way that the association will support such a move. So we must admit that in most cases of areas of governance, in areas of employment, we have medical association. I'm happy Angel is on that. They have teachers under them who sometimes go outside out of the way and therefore have to be reined in. This is one such example.
You've talked about the fact that you are going to pull them through the disciplinary procedures. And so, but on the face of it, it's what other disciplinary procedure is there to What is the sanction that you can impose from an association on a publisher like that?
Yeah, basically, whatever initially all that we could have done was to ask the publisher to respectfully withdraw the books, which NACA has directed, which every disciplined publisher, every respectable publisher.
It's been a few days now. Have they withdrawn all the books?
No, when we spoke to the managing director today, she confirmed that they are withdrawing the books, and in fact, they've withdrawn some books from circulation. I have no way to doubt that except to verify by a further investigation in the market. But she said that the books have been withdrawn. Okay. They've withdrawn some, and they are hopeful that by the end of the week, wherever they believe that some of the books went, they are will be withdrawn. Okay, good. This is one step to at least to curtail the damage that this book will have caused. Yeah. And I believe that the next phase will be determined by how we proceed. Great.
Stay with me. Also joining me, as I indicated, is Joseph Anthony Kwao. He is a concerned parent. Thomas Musa is the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers. Is joining me on Zoom. Angel Kabono, of course, you know him. He's in the studio. He's the president of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, and he's in the studio with me. Also is Mr. Sari, who just had there, and Togbe Teprehodo, who is the president of the Volta Regional House of Chiefs, on the phone, because they have issued a statement on this matter, because this, of course, has to do with them. There may be others, but now it's about the people, our friends of Web Extraction. Let me bring in the parent. Joseph, you have children in the basic school or in government school?
They're in the basic school.
Basic school. Yeah. Is it private or public?
It's private.
Private. Okay. Yes. So that's where the problem is, because the Director General of the Ghana Education Service yesterday told me on Top Story that the problem really with these books is that a lot of them is on the market, but then you find most of them in private schools. You being used to teach the children. You've heard the apology as a parent. Do you accept the apology?
Well, if we want to build a consensus around nation building, we cannot reject an apology. So it's well accepted, but we still have some reservations and some suggestions to offer going forward.
How many children do you have?
I have 3 children.
3. All of them are where exactly in education, the school?
They're in the primary section.
Primary. So that's exactly where the problem really is. Yeah. What was your reaction as a parent when you heard that books like that may be out there?
Well, my first reaction was a disappointment. Disappointment because when the new educational system was rolled out, textbooks were not available. Teachers were only given manuals to carry on with the implementation. And I wish that before such programs are implemented, every resource that is needed to ensure effective implementation is in place. So for me, it was completely unacceptable to rush with the implementation of a new educational policy when all the materials and structures were not in place. For example, my children's school, for example, for the whole of 2019-2020 academic year, the books were not available. Okay. Even when the schools reopened after the imposition of the restrictions, it took almost a month to get the textbooks. So in one aspect, we will say that, yes, the apology is accepted, but the blame belongs to the quarters. And I put that at the doorstep of NACAP. Okay. Because they are responsible for ensuring that the curriculum to be implemented are in line with the educational policy, and the publishers who are to publish according to their rules. And they were to, as it were, to ensure that the books that are in the market were approved by them. So I do not accept the explanation that the said textbooks were more in the private schools than in the public schools. I do not have any data to support that.
In fact, Angel Kabono told me yesterday on Top Story that it's not even a classroom matter, because parents and you made a point, can go out there, you want to buy books just to help your child, develop. You go out there, oh, this book is class 6. Oh. And you just buy it because you think it's going to help your child.
Supplementary readers, yeah.
Supplementary reading, so you buy it, and that's where the problem really could also be. But Angel, tell me, it's a big deal. We just had the publishers there admitting that, their members, one of their members was caught in this. I'll come to the other point because two of the publishers that were mentioned are not members of the association. That in itself is a problem. So they seem to. But what's the big picture for you when you hear this problem?
Well, the big picture is that this breaks the type of cohesion that we are trying to foster in our country. And where else can you bring citizens together than in the school? The school environment is a melting point of all manner of people. We learn from people and so on and so forth. But let me tell you something, Evans. You see, very good publishers prefer to use group authors, not individual authors, in the publishing of textbooks. Are you getting it? So you have different educationists coming together to author a science book or a maths book or English textbook. Individual authors do not have peer review in some of the content that they churn out. But one other danger we also have to realize, it is not every book that is published that is meant to be a school-approved textbook. So for example,
to be used in the classroom.
To be used in the classroom. But they are bought by parents, teachers, and students. So somebody comes to the house during holidays and drives to University of Ghana bookshop and sees a book on geography, physical geography. He or she will buy.
You're right.
That book will not necessarily be prescribed by Ghana Education Service, but it is just a book bought to augment knowledge acquired in school.
You're definitely right. I mean, I go to the bookshop to buy books for my kids, and I now want them to read a bit of African authors.
That's right.
And I'm doing a bit of Ghanaian authors.
Yes.
But I must confess, you take the Ghanaian authors' books home sometimes, I'm reading for my kids, and I spot grammatical errors.
Because they have not, for example, if I write a script, I will have to give it to a colleague to peer review my script, to even identify, because when you are writing, you don't identify certain grammatical errors.
Because you are writing. Of editing.
Yeah. So somebody helps you in editing, an independent mind eye helps you to edit. Now, do you know in the Ghana Education Service, we have the various subject associations. So you have the English Teachers Association, Geography Teachers Association. Those associations are dead. We have not encouraged them to survive. Hitherto, these associations will even review a book and say that we teachers of English language have seen this book worthy of being used by students because it is so good that it can help students to pass their exams. These are things that, so for example, one, NACA should stop or discourage individual writers to be presenting works for their review.
But that's shocking because everywhere in the world, if you write a textbook, it's peer reviewed.
Absolutely. See,
I mean, it should be so basic.
In fact, publishers...
But even for you to be calling for it means the problem is a big one.
I was doing some reading before coming here on other countries.
Yeah.
Publishers for school textbooks prefer group authors.
Yeah. Because you can peer review each other.
Absolutely. That is something we need to do in this country. Because this is a textbook, for God's sake. It is not just a novel that
and it's out there on the market.
That's it.
I mean, let me ask you this, because of your experience in this. Were you shocked and surprised when you heard it was on the market in the content, or were you said, oh, but I have known this for a while?
No, well, in fact, it was the ethnic and tribal slant that whipped the sentiment of people.
Yeah.
But my brother, worse things are on the market in terms of grammatical error, in terms of inadequacy of facts, and so on and so forth.
Being sold to our children.
Oh, being sold to our children. And it reflects in some of their examination write-ups.
Oh, goodness me.
Okay, so when we were kids in secondary school, our teachers told us that we should be very circumspect in reading African writers, because the Nigerian writers used a lot of Nigerian slang. And if you are not too careful and you imbibe them too much, it begins to reflect in the story style and everything is good. But because of the Nigerian slang they use, and you know Ghanaians who want to be as impeccable in the English language as possible. So teachers advise, you know, there are schools that even discourage the use of pamphlets. Yeah. Somebody gets up, gather information, prints a pamphlet. Some schools discourage that. You know, because kids at that age, especially primary school, when they internalize any information, it's very difficult to take it.
They won't even listen to the parent.
They will not even listen to you. Yeah. So that is where the danger is. But let me tell you, my brother, that there are more heinous write-ups. There are more dangerous grammatical errors, very bad examples that are not even age-specific. Because when I'm giving an example to a student in a senior high school, that example ought to be different from an example given to a kid in class 6 because of the level of appreciation and how he or she conceive conflicting issues.
I mean, what you say is really baffling. I want to bring in your colleague from the NAT. Thomas, thank you for joining us. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
I mean,
yes, I can hear you.
Great. I mean, you've heard your colleague, Menjo Kabunu, say this is just a tip of the iceberg, that there's even far worse out there than we are reporting. Is that your experience as well at NAT? Because NAT, you are the biggest association, and so you would probably see this even more. Is it true? Is it your experience?
Good evening to you and the co-panelists and to each and everyone listening to you this evening. I believe before I come to the substantive issue, I think it's very, very important that I start with Article 41 of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana that requires citizens to foster unity and harmony among one another. I believe that for the past week or 2 weeks, there has been tension around people threatening, among other things, particularly from the Volta region. A statement has been issued among other things. And I believe that we need to say that we are all together. Let us each come and aside that one, allow the security agencies to take up the matter, get the investigation done. The reason being that there are several questions being asked regarding this particular issue that has come up. Because it has even come to my attention that the textbook in question that talks about the juju and all those things, that particular book has the NACA seal. Yes. The question is that if that particular book has the NACA seal, it has come to my attention that book has the NACA seal. Yes. So the question is, if the book is a draft, how come the book has a NACA seal? These are things, and aside that it has the IDS number, among other things. These are security features that only approved books can carry.
Is it possible that the authors or the publishers forged these and pulled them in there to give credibility?
So these are things, you see, to say yes or no will be prejudicial here, because it is only investigation that can establish the facts for us. And I indicated somewhere, let us be mindful here, because this matter could end up in court. Depending upon how the pendulum swings, it could end up in court. And that is why we need the national security or whatever body that to do the investigation to establish the fact about the NACA seal, the IDS, and all those things, as to how all those things got into the book, onto the market, and the claim of NACA, among other things. All these things needed to be established. The second thing that we must also appreciate is that I've heard in fact, I appreciate the point raised by my brother and comrade Angel, because if you look at it carefully, you realize, particularly under the Education Regulatory Bodies Act, specifically under section 104 of the Act, it just says that the national curriculum, the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment is responsible for the assessment of textbooks, or review of textbooks, and also teaching learning materials, with the view of making a recommendation to the minister. The question is this: when these books came to their attention, Were they recommended? Did they do the review that the law required them to do? And were there recommendations to the minister? So these are things that the investigation will establish for us, so that should any of the parties decide to go to court, once the evidence is there, the Attorney General can have a very firm case to defend the state, depending upon how the pendulum swings. But you see, as to regarding the substantive question you are asking, whether this thing comes to us as a surprise, you see, it is the way we see things. It is our attitude. We have institutions there, and it is not only in education. Look around you. Mm-hmm. All the things we consume, can we guarantee for them? We cannot. There are things that you eat, and when you ask, is this thing approved? They say, oh, don't worry. We have been eating it. We have been eating. See, we live our lives until something happens, we are okay. We are talking about this because somebody saw something and put it on social media, and today we are being invited to discuss it. So granted that the thing has not come to social media for us to discuss, it means that the wrong will be going on, and our children will be consuming it. So as a people, particularly the duty bearers and the state agencies mandated to ensure the kind of things that the public consume, they owe us a duty of care to ensure that the public is protected against some of those things. And I will be very glad that, yes, the apology of the publishers have come. We accept it, but we cannot let it end there, because this is a national issue. It is about our unity.
What else does NAT want to see? What do you want to see else done on this matter?
Oh, certainly. We want a thorough investigation carried out, and anybody found culpable, the appropriate sanctions applied according to the rules of engagement. That one, so that it will be a deterrent. At this particular point, everybody is absorbing him or herself. I only saw draft. Yeah. I only saw this. I only did that. You see, the blame game. The blame game is what you are seeing around. And so, like I have said, because there is blame game here, nobody is accepting responsibility. And so let the national security investigate the matter. And wherever sanctions must be applied, let it be applied. And I believe that going forward, people will take their duty serious. Yeah. That should you go wrong, you will not go unpunished. And I think we must begin to set such records straight, and it will help each and every one. Look, let me tell you something. Teachers, we do three main things. We give children instruction, and the instruction now we give them, we call that is the cognitive aspect. It is expected that whatever you give to the child, it must lead to what we call change in behavior. Mm-hmm. Change in behavior means that it must affect its affective domain. And so whatever knowledge the child has must reflect in his behavior. And the last aspect, or which the third aspect of what we normally give to children, is that they should be able to practice the things we tell them with their hands and all aspects of their body. So if you tell a child in class 3 this particular thing, and the thing remains in the head of the child, one day, this thing will reflect in the behavior of the child. And once it reflects, it will be very difficult, if not impossible, to correct, because you parents, we are all aware, even my own children, when they come home sometimes and I'm telling them something, they will tell him, the teacher didn't say that.
Yeah.
The teacher didn't say that. That is not what is in the textbook. And once the child is referring to what is in the textbook, it is difficult for you to correct, because the child will never agree with you until the teacher comes to correct. And the last thing I want to add to this is that I think what my brother Angel and comrade said, it is something that we need to take serious. That we have the subject teacher associations, we have the English, the mathematics, and all that. I think the time has come. These are professionals who have been teaching for some 20, 25 years and 30 years. When we put 10 of them together, they can get us better books. Yeah. And I think that is the way to go, to encourage the professionals in that particular field.
Yeah. I mean, stay with me. I want to bring in Asari Konedu Yamwa, who is the president of the Ghana Public Association, on the point that Mr. Musa, you touched on. Mr. Yamwa, today when you held that emergency meeting and Bedouin Council was there, yesterday I learned that, in fact, in one of the books, it's written that NACA approved curriculum on the book. Did you establish that?
Yeah, thank you very much. Please, in respect of, I can speak for Beduka's book.
Yes.
And I think that the book was not approved.
But did they have on the,
it was not approved? It was in the process.
Okay, I think that one there's no controversy. But did they have written on the book that was on the market that this is a NACA approved book?
No, no. The one I saw did not have NACA approved.
Did they have the NACA logo? The NACA seal?
NACA does not logo. Has not
the seal. The certification seal.
This is, you know, NACA does not give a seal. What they give you is a letter detailing the approval and whatever has been captured. If there are corrections, they'll tell you, go and do the corrections, bring it back for your final approval. NACA does not give a seal for you to plant or more or less stamp into the book.
So what happens is the publishers write, I've seen, yesterday I learned about that you write, this is approved by
by NACA, and you circulate that letters to the schools. Attached to your textbook for consideration.
Did Bedouin Council have that on their book?
No.
Okay. What about the ISBN?
If there's any other version, I don't know. But what we saw this afternoon, it doesn't have that seal.
Well, what about the ISBN number?
No, that is what I wanted to talk. I've noted it. ISBN is a standard book number, and every published book in the world must have a number. Irrespective of whether the book has errors, has controversial content bias or that, it must have an ISBN. It is a form of a car license plate. That's the car. A car could be rickety, but still have a license plate. So the ISBN is just to identify every book in the world by a number. And that number, you apply it, you have to have that ISBN in the book before you submit to NACA. So it is the fact that a book has an ISBN doesn't mean that book is sacrosanct, that book has no errors, or that book is a perfect book. No, it is just one of the procedures of a publisher to make sure that your book is numbered. So the ISBN is a number that is assigned to every book that you published. The moment you publish that book, ready for the book to go out onto the market, it must have an identification number, and that is the ISBN.
Okay, and
so please let's have that.
But here's the problem, though. But here's the problem. So just to clarify, did Bedouin Council have the ISBN on this book?
Every standard book should have the ISBN, and
now, you use the word standard, because in fact that is the meaning of ISBN. It's the International Standard Book Number. But this book that they put out is not up to the standards that the NACA approves, and yet they go to the process of writing a book that NACA hasn't approved, and they put it on the market, and then they secure an ISBN number and attach to it and sell. I mean, that is deception, some may say, and even fraudulent to some extent.
No, that analysis of yours is wrong.
It's wrong?
An ISBN number, as I said, is an identification number. The ISBN system has its own standardization.
Yes.
And that says that,
you're saying that the ISBN number can be put on unapproved books and sold on the market.
It is possible.
But that is not how the ISBN is supposed to work.
No, the issuing authority for ISBN is different from NACA.
True, I understand that.
So the library authority that issues an ISBN.
You have a book that has
the library authority that issues an ISBN. Let me explain to you. Has that set of numbers. And your book must conform to a specific physical standard.
It's simply a unique. It's a unique number that identifies a book. And
thank you.
Yes, but my point is, this is a number that you don't generate yourself. You actually acquire it.
Yes.
Exactly. My point to you, you acquired a number. You acquired a number. You attach it. It gives a seal of confidence to me when I'm buying. Because if your book doesn't have ISBN number, I'm not buying it. You know that.
Yes.
Yes, of course. I mean, I've not been to school. If I go to a library, I'm coming to a question. I'm coming to a question. I mean, we've not been to school. You know what ISBN is. If I go to a library, I'm not going to read a book. A book that hasn't got ISBN number is red flags. So once a book has ISBN number, it is a layer of confidence that you are adding to the book before you sell. I mean, and my point to you is that Bedun Cancer procures the number, which they know will give the confidence for me to buy, attaches to the book, and puts it on the market when NACA, the final authority in Ghana, hasn't approved it. That is knowingly putting out a fraudulent document. That is deceiving the public.
I disagree with you. Look, let's be very technical. The technical descriptions are quite. It's very dangerous for us to assign certain things to what is not existing. For a publisher to secure your book, to be recognized by, let's say, any library in the world, it must have the identification number. NACA is assessing your book based upon the curriculum and the syllables that have been developed. The Ghana Library Authority is giving you an ISBN based on the physical conditions that the standard book number has designed. That if you have a book, let's say 80 pages, it has a dimension for children's books for this, you are going to use this ISBN number. So what NACA usually does is that because it is part of their process that if you don't have the ISBN number, they will ask you to go get your ISBN number before you submit the book to NACA. The Library Authority, usually when you do the book, when the book is published, and with the ISBN, you are required by law to submit, I think, one copy to the Department Library, which is the repository for the ISBNs. And usually, they also do some work on the book. But theirs do come late, I agree. That they are able to go through your book because potentially your book will be subjected to library procurement. So the Library Authority also does some content analysis of the books that they've assigned ISBN. And they usually will call you with a certain script detailing some corrections in your work. And they will ask you to correct them. Otherwise, they will not recommend your book for any library. So the ISBN is one of the preparatory materials that a publisher should have before you submit your book to NACA.
Okay. Oh, hold on, Mr. Kabuna.
But if excuse me,
yes,
if
sir.
We are saying that now the Library Authority should also be part of an assessment process before your ISBN is given to you. That is an entirely new dimension you are bringing on board.
Okay. Let me bring in the stakeholders. I mean, what's your comment on this? It looks like the entire chain failed us.
Yeah, I think maybe, I don't know whether this ISBN being a preparatory stage is a universal phenomenon. Because I think that standard identification number is a very vital indication for you and I to know that this book is worthy to be bought and read. Yeah. So I think that maybe this should be an eye-opener. Can we review the system and ensure that people will have to do a preliminary assessment of the material that you present to make it worthy to get standard number? Because if I take a product to Standards Board, before I get Standard Board approval, they will have to assess the product and ensure that the ingredients are up to the required amount before I'm given a Standard Board approval. Yeah. So maybe we have to look at it and change the system the way it is. All geared towards ensuring that materials that come to the open market are worthy to be bought and read.
Is it fair to say everything else you've experienced as a teacher and what we're hearing, that this has opened our eyes to a bigger problem?
Absolutely.
That these textbooks, throughout the chain, the whole system is failing. NACA is failing, Board of the Library Authority is failing, Education Ministry and official GES, all that chain have a responsibility that has been checked.
Yeah, I think it's an eye-opener to the extent that we've realized that we have allowed the system to run its own course without periodic review and periodic check, and only God knows. All those years.
That leads me to a question. Should we, on the back of these revelations, do a complete national audit of all textbooks currently produced by the publishers in Ghana and on the market?
That will not be out of place. That will not be out of place at all. And I will not be surprised, then you will begin to see why certain students do well and why some. Because, you know, there are students who learn on their own, who wrote their secondary school exams on their own. Yeah. So they go to the open market, buy books, read those books themselves. And as to whether those books are giving them the required information, leaves very much to be desired.
I'll come to you on the question of what do we do now on the back of this revelation. Should we just stay, Bedouin Cancer and the two others and go, or we should have a bigger approach to this? I also asked Nat that question, and even the publishers themselves. Stay with me. So here on PM Express, a very consequential conversation, and I honestly believe even the time is on it now, because it's opening up just a Pandora's box. If you're a parent, you must be very concerned. Let me start with you as we begin to wrap up, Joseph, because you are the parent. All that you've heard, what do you want to see now? Because it's clear that this goes beyond the three publishers we've talked about in specific books. There's a bigger problem with textbooks generally. What do you want to see for those three lovely children of yours, for their sake?
Well, as a nation, I'll speak in general, because at the end of the day, it's our children who are citizens, who become leaders in future, and they will stay the affairs of the state. So I would just wish that state institutions who are duty bearers in the educational sector really go down to work, to do their work. And there should be collaboration between NACAP, GES, and I think GES must be allowed to play a key role, because they are the implementers of the educational system. No matter who brings the policy, they should be part of the entire process. What we are seeing now is similar to a situation that always happens in this country whenever there are fuel price increases. Then there are increments in transport fares before negotiations start with the transport unions and staff. We shouldn't be at this stage, at this age of Ghana's independence. We should be at the stage where we are now looking at, okay, how do we tailor our education system to address the developmental needs of Ghana?
On this specific issue you're talking about, what do you want to see?
I really want the publishers, the NACAP and the Ghana Education Service to work to ensure that the contents of whatever is delivered to our children is true,
it's factual,
does not contain any ethnic sentiment, whether implicit or explicit, and builds national consensus and builds the patriotic spirit which we all need to develop this nation.
Let me quickly give the final to Thomas. You with the NAT, would you support a bigger national audit of all textbooks that are currently in circulation?
Hello, excellent.
Thomas. Yes.
That is the way to go. That is the way to go. You know something? In fact, I was personally shocked to hear that the ISBN number is just a number to examine physical something. I was shocked to hear that. Look, before any vehicle moves on the road, they check the roadworthiness, irrespective of how nice the vehicle is. Before you be given the permit to drive on that particular road, you will need to show that your vehicle is roadworthy. So look, let us be careful here. We are talking about behavior that children must demonstrate. And these behaviors have been put in books for them to demonstrate. So anything that we put in the book, we are telling them that they should demonstrate that behavior. And I indicated that we are talking about the cognitive, having to talk about the knowledge we give them, then the affective, having to talk about they demonstrating the knowledge we've given them. So we as professionals, when we are teaching children, we don't take anything for granted.
Yeah. Let me ask
you that children are like clay.
Let me ask you this because of time. Which agency must lead this national audit of textbooks?
I believe that the Ghana Education Service, even though by the law it is NACA, but the Ghana Education Service has the professionals, all the English teachers are in the Ghana Education Service. So the Ghana Education Service, and for that matter, the English Teachers Association in GS should lead the crusade for us. And I believe that the association can do excellent work.
Okay.
Go to WAEC. They are the examiners.
Okay.
How can they be in the examiners at WAEC, and then another person will write books for them to look at it to examine?
And I'm beginning to learn already that there's already a contention between the WAEC and GS curriculum. But Mr. Kabodu, thank you very much for your time. Thank you also. Thank you, gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of the evening.